Honorable NATO Secretary General, Your Excellency Jens Stoltenberg, honorable members of the delegations and media representatives. I have the pleasure, Mr. Secretary, to meet with you again 2 months after the last meeting which we had at the NATO headquarters in Brussels. And I would like to express to you my gratitude and the gratitude of the citizens of the Republic of Kosovo for your visit to Kosovo at an extremely challenging time in terms of security, not only for us, but also for the whole of Western Balkans and the European continent in general. As you know, Mr. Secretary, Kosovo is a new and a democratic state. Kosovo's freedom is also a result of NATO support. 24 years ago, we gained our freedom and the opportunity for the independence of our country. The people and the institutions of Kosovo are forever grateful for NATO's contribution to our freedom. At the same time, we are even more grateful to the NATO soldiers who, within the KFOR mission, are providing extreme contribution to peace and stability. But this very peace has lately been very seriously violated and continues to be violated by Serbia. As you may know, on September 24th, from the terrorist attack in Banjska, a Kosovo policeman, Sergeant Afrin Bunjaku, already a hero of our country, was killed, while several others were injured. This was a pure act of aggression on the part of Serbia against our republic. The data obtained by the official investigation confirmed that Serbia is behind this attack, both in terms of its organization as well as supplying weapons and equipment and financing and providing training in its military bases within Serbia. In order not to allow the repetition of such attacks, Serbia's responsibility for the attack and terrorist aggression of September 24th against Kosovo must be addressed, as well as for the attack of May 29th against KFOR troops. Instead of extraditing terrorists, Serbia unfortunately continues to support them in planning of new attacks against Kosovo and regional stability. Mr. Secretary, at our joint media conference in September of this year at NATO headquarters, I forewarned that if the attackers of NATO troops in May, who were led by Serbian criminal gangs, would go unpunished, then this will encourage them to repeat the attack on an even greater scale. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened on September 24th. They were the very same people who attacked NATO forces and who also took part in the attack upon Kosovo on September 24th. For this reason, if Serbia does not face any measure for this continuous attack, it will be a new encouragement for them to attack Kosovo and destabilize the region even more. In this context, the role of NATO and KFOR in preventing the destabilization of not only Kosovo is decisive, as Serbia remains a constant threat to peace and stability in the entire region. Kosovo Police is a multi-ethnic police force which serves to protect all communities. Being an extremely professional force, the police and all our security institutions are ready to continue their close cooperation with KFOR, because this is in our own interest as well. Cooperation with our allies is a value which we continuously promote. Kosovo and NATO are on one side, terrorists are on the other side. Honorable NATO Secretary, based on security challenges in the last period, the strengthening of relations between Kosovo and NATO is a prerequisite for peace and regional stability. Membership in the strongest military alliance of the world is strategic, existential, and a primary goal of the state of Kosovo. Initially, the inclusion of Kosovo in the Partnership for Peace, followed by full membership in NATO, is a guarantee for the security of the entire region. Prolonging the process of Kosovo's membership in this alliance would produce major consequences for security in the entire European continent. The ongoing security challenges in the north of Kosovo are a joint concern for the institutions of Kosovo and those of NATO, which require joint partnership efforts. NATO can send clear messages to Serbia regarding its actions. demanding the withdrawal of the armed forces gathered on the border with Kosovo, as well as the closure of the Russian humanitarian center, which is in fact a Russian espionage center. Kosovo has proved itself as a reliable partner for NATO, starting from the housing of Afghan refugees, imposition of sanctions against Russia, up until a strong support for Ukraine. At the same time, we also participate in peacekeeping operations around the world based on bilateral agreements. I strongly believe that our joint efforts will create the possibility to maintain the peace and stability not only of Kosovo, but of the entire region. The Republic of Kosovo, Mr. Secretary, is a partner upon which you can count at any time. Thank you very much.
Dr. Osmani, Vjosa, thank you so much for your warm welcome. It's always great to be back in Pristina, and a pleasure to meet with you again just shortly after we met in Brussels not so many weeks ago. We just had an important discussion on the security situation in Kosovo and in the region. In September, we saw a serious outbreak of violence in northern Kosovo, raising concerns that the widespread conflict could return to the Western Balkans. And in May, our KFOR troops, as you alluded to already, were attacked, leaving 93 NATO soldiers injured, some seriously, some are wounded for life. Such violent attacks are unacceptable. Those responsible must be held to account. NATO responded swiftly. We have deployed 1,000 additional troops to Kosovo. We sent heavier armour, and we have stepped up patrols in the north. These are prudent steps, ensuring that KFOR continues to fulfil its UN mandate at all times. We will do what is necessary to maintain a safe and secure environment and freedom of movement for all people in Kosovo. Stability in the region depends on all sides choosing diplomacy over violence and on honouring existing commitments. Any deployment of the Kosovo Security Force to the north of Kosovo requires the concurrence of KFOR. And we expect timely consultations on any action of the Kosovo Security Force or Kosovo Police that could impact regional security. Decades of hard-won peace must not be jeopardized. NATO strongly supports the EU-facilitated dialogue between Belgrade and Pristina, and both sides must engage in good faith. I welcome the latest proposals for the establishment of the Association of Serb-majority municipalities in Kosovo. This would be a key step toward normalization of the relationship and toward lasting peace and prosperity in the region. So once again, thank you so much for your welcome and for our very constructive and good meeting. Thank you.
Thank
you, Kosovo. Mr. Secretary, my first question is on the act of aggression that we had almost 2 months ago in Banjska. Is NATO conducting an investigation on this case, and are you concerned that something like that could be happening again? And what are you doing along with Kosovo police and other forces maybe to prevent from this kind of act of terror to happen again in Kosovo soil? And the second question is, what is the perspective of this country to become one day a NATO member? Is it bleak, really, or is it more hopeful? And at least, can we expect that next year, by next year, Kosovo can become a PFP member, for example? Thank you.
So membership in the Partnership for Peace requires unanimous decision by all NATO allies. This is an issue that has been discussed. I know the aspiration of Kosovo, but as I said, this requires a decision by all NATO allies, and I will not speculate about any when a decision can be taken. On the violence, this is absolutely unacceptable. Both the violence we saw in May, but also, of course, in September in Banska, and that's the reason why we have significantly increased our presence with 1,000 more troops, which is the largest reinforcement of KFOR in Kosovo for at least a decade. And that reflects how seriously we take both the incidents, the violence in May and in September. Then, of course, NATO is not a law-enforcing institution. That's for the Kosovo police, it's for ULEX, and of course I will also raise these issues in my meetings in Serbia tomorrow. So we just expect that those who are responsible for this absolutely unacceptable violence are held to account, and that has been NATO's message, my message, since May, and then reiterated, of course, after violence in September. And it is important that it has consequences, because we need to do whatever we can to ensure that this kind of violence doesn't happen again.
Vazhdojmë pyetjen tjetër.
Fatos Vityche from Reuters. Questions for both. Do you see any Russian influence in the over here? Do you see any Russian influence in the past weeks regarding the incidents, what's happened in the north, and is NATO prepared? And are you worried that similar incidents like the one we saw in September could go into a much broader conflict in the whole region?
So NATO has a history. We have a history in this part of Europe since the 1990s. And therefore we have invested a lot in stability, in peace in this region, in Kosovo, but also in Bosnia and Herzegovina, in the Western Balkans in general. I will also go later on my trip to the Western Balkans to North Macedonia, where we also helped to prevent violence roughly 20 years ago. So we helped to end 2 brutal ethnic wars in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Kosovo, and we also prevented it from happening in North Macedonia, and we are really investing in security in this region, because safety for the people in this region, stability in this region matters for our security. And therefore, of course, we will do what is necessary to ensure that we implement our UN mandate for our presence in Kosovo, that we also support the EUFOR Althea force in Bosnia. I'm just arriving straight from Sarajevo, where I had important meetings yesterday and today. And we are now actually conducting a review by our military authorities about our military presence in the Western Balkan region. That includes Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also Kosovo. We have used our reserve force to immediately increase our presence after violence in September. We are now reviewing whether we should have a more permanent increase to ensure that this doesn't spiral out of control and creates a new violent conflict in Kosovo or in the wider region. So yes, we will do what is necessary. We are currently reviewing adjustments to our presence, and we have already implemented immediate increases of NATO presence in the region.
Vazhdojmë pyetjen tjetër.
Let's move on with the second question. The question was for both parties. I think with regards to the first part of the question about the Russian influence, Russian influence is seen in 3 aspects. The first one is related to propaganda, which has intensified in the last 2 years, including in the Western Balkans. It's a propaganda that supports Serbia's stance with regards to destabilizing the region. The second one is related to weaponry that Russia continuously sells to Serbia, and which is then used by Serbia to attack Kosovo and other countries. We have seen many countries of MiG-2019s used in the border with Kosovo, and the third one is related to the political support that Russia provides to Serbia in these destabilizing efforts. When these three come together, it's clear that it's the interest of Russia to open a new front against the West, and of course they want to open this front in parts of Europe that are not yet parts of NATO. And this makes it even more imperative that our country becomes a member of NATO in order to prevent such attacks or even such malignant influence in our region, which is part of the European continent. Obviously, such concerns exist for future attacks. All information coming from our security institutions prove that Serbia, through such illegal paramilitary terrorist structures, continues to make new organizations. So it's imperative that our cooperation with NATO is always in full coordination and increasing cooperation. This is a value because working with allies is an extremely good value of our country and our people. So we will continue to work together to prevent such attacks even before they start. But if there are such attempts, they failed on September 24th, and they will fail again. Let's move on with the second question. Thank you. I'm Pleurat Salie. President, Prime Minister Kurti yesterday said that in Niš there are terrorist activities and exercises taking place organized by and led by Radojcic. Do you have this information, and what was the stance of the Secretary General? And when he goes to Albania, will he go to the border and see if this is actually taking place? This is information that our security institutions share with me as a president and the prime minister of the country. Unfortunately, Serbia not only did not extradite the leader of that terrorist attack practically, because politically the leader of this attack was Vučić, and instead of extraditing Radojcic, they continue to provide all the necessary infrastructure for him to plan new attacks against Kosovo. And we share the information that our institutions collect with all the allies and partners, and of course will cooperate in order for such attacks to be prevented in the future. With regards to the message that the Secretary will share in Serbia, it is his position to respond to this question, but I think he was very clear in this regard earlier. Let's move on with the last question. Burim Zarici from TV21. President, during the meeting, did you ask Mr. Stoltenberg to review an agreement that Kosovo has with NATO with regards to deploying the Kosovo army to the north of the country, because you said that our country is threatened by new attacks and Serbia's approach and Russian influence? Did you discuss about this, and is it possible for that 2013 agreement to be reviewed? And the second issue, we heard Mr. Stoltenberg, who also called on the establishment of the Association of Serb Municipalities, which is considered an emergency issue by the international community. But on the other hand, we have Serbia, which is refusing to sign a peace agreement, so to say, with Kosovo. And what is the potential epilogue of the dialogue if they say, if the Serbian party says that without signing the association, there is no implementation of the agreements? As you know, on October 26th, Kosovo offered to sign the agreements with regards to the French and German plan and other proposals from the EU in order for the Serbian party not to escape its obligations for implementation. Unfortunately, Serbia was not willing to sign or even to implement it. Now I think it's clear for all of us that the address of pressure should be Belgrade. because the reason why these agreements are not implemented is Belgrade. Kosovo has continuously insisted on full implementation and not only select specific points that we think are appropriate for implementation. Without full implementation of the agreement, we cannot talk about successful dialogue. So we expect our partners to make pressure on Belgrade to ensure full implementation. Whereas if the fact that Serbia is continuously refusing to implement the agreement is denied, then I do not expect a successful dialogue, because automatically we do not have a table where both parties are equal. And if the principle of equal treatment of parties is ignored, then this is it is meant to fail. And with regards to the 2013 agreement, you know that we have inherited that agreement signed by the former president of the time with a NATO Secretary General at that time. It was not an agreement that was in the interest of Kosovo, to be honest, but Kosovo is a serious country which, above all, respects NATO as an alliance, which provides security to our country, as an alliance that has continuously contributed to the security and peace of our country and our partners for the security of our citizens. It is our partners who protect our Kosovo, and we have to see this agreement in such terms. And today we also discussed about this agreement, always assuming that it will be respected. It will respect the order of persons responsible with regards to security in Kosovo. The first authority is Kosovo Police. The second authority responsible is ULEX, if there is a request from the Kosovo institutions, and the third institution is NATO. And as the Secretary said, NATO is not expected to take on the duty of the police, but nonetheless NATO is there to protect peace and security, which is necessary for the prosperity and Euro-Atlantic integration of our region. We will continue to work together with NATO, while the Kosovo police force will go through its successful transition process. Our army belongs in the NATO, and we will work together to make this reality possible as soon as we can, because as we speak, based on the bilateral agreements, the Kosovo force contributes to peacekeeping missions in the world, and I think even as a small country we can contribute to common challenges with regards to peace and security. Dear attendees, this is all from this conference. Thank you for your attention.